Hello, this is the newest 2024 LEGO Speed Champions Ferrari F40, the 8-stud wide version. 318 pieces with this, and it cost me $27 US. We'll look at the minifigure later. I did build this live on Twitch, and surprisingly, it didn't feel as good as a build process as Speed Champions sets usually do these days. It felt like a little bit of regression in its level of complexity and just the feel as I went through it. It's a very, very subjective thing. I'm not looking at part count. I'm not looking at, how many nice part usages are in there, not counting anything. Just the feel of it, which was a little bit of a letdown given that I am highly, highly, highly biased in favor of the source material here of the Ferrari F40. Overall, from a distance, it looks pretty good, but I continue to have the same major problem with it that I had when I first saw the pictures of it, just the pictures online, and that is the shaping of the side window here through the prints. And I know that a lot of people have had a lot of problems accepting the headlights and the openings right here and how this is done, the fact that it's not actually covered with glass. In the pictures, I didn't have a huge problem with that. Now that I'm seeing it in person, I have a much bigger problem with it. I was able to get past it before. Now I'm liking it less. I would say I'm forgiving of things that should have glass that don't have glass, because so many things from LEGO that should have glass don't have glass. It's very, very common for things to just be left open, especially side windows, back windows, sometimes, windscreens. You look at Technic stuff, especially in some of the nicer builds, some of the nicer designs, also in the mock making world, don't have glass. So I was forgiving of this, but seeing it in person, it just doesn't come together as well as I had hoped. Also, this gap back here feels a little bit awkward to me. It is nice that they gave us a fair number of printed pieces throughout this set, including the 1x2 by 2/3 curve there is printed on the top and the bottom on both of those. So it's a single piece, a single skew that they're able to use on the right and the left. It doesn't matter which way, you don't have to choose one in particular. You do have stickers here on the front, but you can see that there is a gap in the black there. And if it was done with stickers on the sides, I could have removed that gap. I could have minimized that down. I don't know which is the better thing. I think generally almost everybody prefers to have prints, but sometimes stickers can actually be useful. I love the NACA ducts. They are done as perfectly as could possibly be done in this scale with LEGO. I was surprised to see that this is open here. Look at that. You can actually see inside here. I'm gonna take this off. There's my finger. You can see my finger going down. Speaking of things that are open, right? Prints used obviously for the windscreen, print used here when there's a different one on the other side. This is a nice technique. This is actually a little bit nicer than what I was recognizing from the photographs, with the use of a sign piece there, frequently used as a computer monitor. So it's got a clip on the inside of it. So you get just that 1/2 width, 1/2 plate width, and it's also cut off at the bottom to give you the nice 1/2 plate height for the black stripe. They've done a similar thing down here with just the more standard flag to frame up the bottom of the exhaust. And just generally, this looks really good from the back. Notice the turn signals are done with a printed piece as well. But this little lip right there at the edge of either side of the wing mounts, not so great. Print right there for the Ferrari, pretty good. It's a little bit offset, but it's not too bad. Engine compartment looks great. This had to be clear. This is done so right. I've been all up on top of a real Ferrari, and I just spent way too much time looking at one of these F40s in person, in red, up close, and this captures it. This gets it. This is, in my opinion, the best thing on the entire set. The most authentic, the best captured. Although I will say the use of the spoons for the side view mirrors is very inspired and very, very appropriate here as well. Prints used down here. The wheels are okay. I feel like the proportions aren't quite right for that, but they're okay. And I said the build didn't feel as good as usual. It was still good. It still had some nice things along the way. The interior looks pretty good. You just have a sticker used for the center console there, printed piece or a single paint application piece for the microphone. All that looks, pretty decent. However, unfortunately, the arm of this figure has to be up, because if I try to push that arm down, I'm now pushing against the door frame here, and it's stressing the parts. So if I don't want the parts to be stressed, I mean, even right there, it's still hand up, but to have it actually clear, it's got to be like that. And that's just awkward. It just makes it look like the person is always waving at passersby, which, is nice, I suppose, but now you're impacting the side of the windscreen there as well if you go up too far. So it's just very awkward, unfortunately. I do very much like this subtle taper here, and I like how that was done in the build, but there are a lot of compromises with this, chief among them being the shape of that side window, which is absolutely horrible. Look, I don't need to show you pictures of the thing. Here's a scale model in 1/18 scale, a die-cast from 25 years ago in the Hot Wheels Elite series. It's not the highest quality die-cast model, but it gets the shapes pretty right. It's a proper model, and it's licensed from Ferrari and everything. And just look at this line right here. It just goes right along the base of the windscreen, continues back here, continues back here, continues back to the rear deck and the base of the engine cover back there. Compared to the Speed Champions one here, which here's that line, right? It should be down there now. It should be down there. It should be down there. It's all right. I can forgive this, but look, it jumps way up. Look at how squinty that looks. That looks like a completely different car. Completely different car. That's not the profile. This is from an era when supercars still had big eyes on the side. And Lego has just not captured that here at all. I realize that there are compromises they had to make for how they're able to print things, but this is right. And once again, no window, right? I talked about that earlier. Not having glass, I'm okay with it. But, this does a pretty decent job. This doesn't have perfect proportions either, but it gets just about everything better, including the struts for the wings. Nothing's sticking out back here. Nothing's dipping down back here. This line is right. Again, not perfect, but this one just has too many things going wrong with it, in my personal opinion, that make it disappointing to me as someone who was really, really looking forward to the replacement for this, because this was great in its day for what it was, but it's not accurate. It's not quite good enough to be properly proud of it. And I was looking for this to give me a nice smaller scale replacement for this, also a replacement for this slightly bigger scale. And it's letting me down a little bit too much, I'm afraid. The minifigure is just a minifigure. I'm glad that they didn't go with a boring red, because everything Ferrari being red, it gets a little bit old after a while. Olive green color they don't use a whole lot. It's licensed and everything. It's fine, but it's a little bit plain. But again, it works. It's a figure. These are the leftover parts and the spare or alternate wheel covers. I don't think you're supposed to have an extra one of these, but I did get one. This is what the sticker sheet looked like, so a fair number of small stickers. Real quick, absolutely everyone on the planet has told me that doing this will solve everything with the F40, so I'm going to do it and show you what's still wrong with the F40. Okay, now we've brought the base of the window down. It definitely helps, but now you've got this really, really awkward transition right here, and this is also tinted. So now you want to swap this out, but this really should be clear, honestly. This is perfect. But yeah, I think I'm going to get another one of these, as I mentioned before, another one of these sets, and try to customize up the sides, both the window itself and then this piece behind it. Does that look better? I think to some folks it will, just because the size of the eye is much more appropriate now. But I don't think that solves everything. Personally, I think it needs more than that. And because I like the F40 so much, I will put some extra effort into an alternate version of it. And of course, it is Lego, so you can rebuild everything. You can make everything. Everybody already has done rebuilds for the front, long since before the sets even hit shelves. Folks were designing them in studio. So yeah, you can change everything, but ultimately this is a product that I paid $27 US for. It's 27 euros, 21 pounds UK, or $35 Canadian. And it's a non-trivial amount of money for a small car with one figure. And I expect it to be decent, and most of the sets in the Speed Champions line, especially as we come to newer years, for their time, are excellent. This one is not. It just has too many things wrong with it that bug me. Does my bias factor into that? The fact that I love the source material and want it to look like the source material, does that factor in? Probably a little bit, but am I wrong though to want the thing to look like the real thing when we're now paying $27 US for this small toy car, right? It's not a high-end die-cast. It's not a resin model or anything like that. Am I wrong for it? I don't know, maybe, but I don't feel like I'm wrong for it. And I feel like many other Speed Champions just do their job better than this one does. So those are my thoughts. I will modify my own so that I'll be more happy, and I'll talk to you soon.